What if I told you that a single overlooked thread connects your phone, your clothes, and even the concept of nothingness? History isn't just European battles or American inventions. There's a hidden story, one whispered from ancient riverbeds, carried on spice-laden winds, and coded into the numbers that run our lives. This thread, woven with brilliance and chaos, originates from India. Its impact on our world is more profound than you might imagine. Today we're pulling back the curtain on a history that's vibrant, complex, and world-shaping. From the Indus Valley to Silicon Valley, India was never just a bystander. It was the engine, the catalyst, and sometimes the spark of global upheaval. The world we know was shaped by a constant exchange of ideas, goods, and people, and for millennia, India was a super contributor. But with influence came consequence, prosperity, conflict, and domination. As we trace this thread, you'll see how Indian genius triggered chain reactions that changed humanity. But what was the first great secret this ancient land offered the world? It wasn't a monument, it was a simple, revolutionary idea. Before Rome or the pyramids, the Indus Valley civilization thrived. Meticulously planned cities, advanced sanitation, and a mysterious script. Over 4,000 years ago, people here lived with grid-like streets and indoor plumbing, like a modern suburb, but in 2500 BCE. These weren't isolated villages. They were bustling trade hubs, quietly building the world's first global supply chains. Indus Valley artifacts have been found as far as Mesopotamia, proving they were pioneers of international commerce. Their genius lay in organization, trade, and mathematics, standardized weights, stunning art, and urban planning. Though the civilization faded, its legacy endured, absorbed into later cultures and laying the foundation for India's next innovations. The spirit of inquiry and outward-looking perspective remained. The stage was set, but the world had no idea the most earth-shattering concept was yet to come. And it would start with a number that meant nothing at all. Try doing complex maths without zero. Impossible, right? For most of history, zero didn't exist. The Romans had no placeholder for nothing. But in 5th century India, mathematicians like Brahmagupta changed everything. They didn't just invent a symbol, they conceptualized nothingness itself, turning shunya into a mathematical powerhouse. Zero became a number with its own rules, enabling the decimal system and making calculations vastly simpler. This Hindu-Arabic numeral system began its journey out of India, ready to transform the world. Arab scholars like Al-Khwarizmi recognized its power, translating and spreading it to Europe. Europeans were suspicious at first, but the system's superiority was undeniable. The decimal system made navigation, engineering, and finance possible, fueling the Renaissance, the scientific revolution, and the industrial age. Every major technological leap since stands on this Indian invention. Zero is the silent hero of our digital world. Without it, there'd be no binary code, no computers, no internet. It's one of India's most profound gifts. But India's lands held treasures of a different kind, materials so valuable they would drive men to madness and inspire them to cross oceans. Long before fantasy tales, the world coveted a real legendary metal Wootz steel from India. Forged in southern India, this high-carbon steel was famed for its sharpness and strength, so advanced, Europeans couldn't replicate it for centuries. Damascus blades wielded by crusaders were forged from Indian steel, a symbol of power and conquest. But India's earth held another treasure: spices. Pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, and cloves were more valuable than gold, essential for food, medicine, and ritual. The global economy reoriented around the spice route, connecting east and west and generating immense wealth. But this wealth came at a price: rivalries, piracy, and war as nations fought to control the trade. The quest for India's riches drove explorers like Columbus and Vasco da Gama to seek new routes, unleashing an era of colonization. India's gifts enriched the world, but also made it a target. The world was coming for India, and nothing would ever be the same. While the world clamored for India's goods, its philosophies quietly transformed continents. Hinduism's concepts of karma and dharma captivated thinkers for millennia, but Buddhism became a global phenomenon. The Buddha's teachings spread from India across Asia, transforming cultures and inspiring art, architecture, and ethics. Buddhism became an empire of the mind, built on wisdom, not war. In the West, translations of Indian texts ignited the imaginations of philosophers like Schopenhauer and Emerson. Concepts of interconnectedness and inner consciousness seeped into Western thought and counterculture. Today, yoga and meditation, born from India's ancient traditions, are global industries. India's most subtle conquest, shaping how the world thinks, finds peace, and understands itself. Before designer labels, the world's most desired fabric came from India. Indian artisans mastered textiles, sheer muslins, vibrant cottons, intricate patterns, sought after by everyone from Roman senators to European queens. The demand for Indian textiles drove global trade for centuries, draining Roman coffers and sparking a calico craze in Europe. The influx of Indian cotton threatened local industries, leading to bans and tariffs like Britain's Calico Acts. But desire couldn't be legislated away. Europeans raced to replicate Indian fabrics. This desperation triggered the Industrial Revolution. Inventions like the spinning, jenny, and power loom were born from the need to compete with India. Britain's rise as a global power was, in part, a response to Indian craftsmanship. India's mastery of the loom set in motion the mechanization of the world. Progress came, but so did exploitation. The very revolution India inspired would soon be turned against it. The Industrial Revolution, sparked in part by India, came back to haunt it. Britain dismantled India's textile industry, flooding the market with cheap cloth and turning India into a captive market. The wealth and skills that once made India a powerhouse were systematically drained away. Colonial education created clerks, not innovators, and India's intellectual capital was redirected to serve the empire. After independence, the best minds often left for opportunities abroad, a massive loss for a nation rebuilding itself. Doctors, engineers, and scientists who could have built India instead contributed to other nations. The brain drain was a bitter legacy of exploitation. But as the 20th century closed, a new revolution was brewing. The Indian diaspora was ready, not just to participate, but to lead. The stage was set for a stunning comeback. As the digital age dawned, Indian engineers and entrepreneurs became architects of the future in Silicon Valley. They helped build the internet, personal computing, and the mobile revolution, laying the groundwork for the modern world. Soon, the world looked to India itself as a hub for talent. Outsourcing and tech campuses in Bengaluru and Hyderabad turned brain drain into brain circulation. Indian talent no longer had to leave. The world was coming to them. India became the world's innovation lab, with CEOs of global tech giants now of Indian origin. The same culture that gave us zero now shapes the digital ones and zeros of our lives. This modern uprising is a story of resilience and reclaiming a place at the forefront of global innovation. The apps you use, the algorithms you trust, all bear the fingerprints of Indian ingenuity. But to understand this journey, we must confront its full, unvarnished truth. The shocking truth? India's impact isn't a footnote, it's the headline of human progress. From zero to the digital age, India has been a primary engine of global change. But this influence came at a cost: conquest, exploitation, and the draining of its riches and mines. India's greatest gifts often became the catalysts for its greatest suffering. This is the paradox of India's history: unparalleled creation, heartbreaking consequence. Understanding this duality isn't about blame. It's about recognizing a complex, interconnected human story. Progress is a double-edged sword, and history's currents are unpredictable. We must celebrate brilliance and resilience, but also mourn loss and exploitation. The real lessons lie in the full story, glory and tragedy alike. India's legacy is a living history, a roadmap for building a more equitable, conscious future.